Yo, welcome to another episode of Just My Opinion podcast. I think we're episode 23, but nevertheless, I'm the best. We're going to crack right into last night's game, as well as a lot of NBA news and notes on the rumor wire concerning Russell Westbrook. And we're also going to be talking about LeBron James, what he said on social media, as well as to the press. But let's start with the 76ers versus the Los Angeles Lakers. And who would have thunk it? 76ers, who doesn't even have their second best player, Ben Simmons. And they just the Lakers came in and got owned by the Philadelphia 76ers. Shouldn't be new news to anyone because the Los Angeles Lakers are a below 500 team. People talking about this turn of event that's going to happen in the near future. Well, people have been predicting this for the past couple of months. Oh, the Lakers just got to figure it out. The Lakers got to figure it out. And then people started pointing fingers. Well, it's Russell Westbrook's fault. It's LeBron's fault. It's Rob Pelinka's fault. Then they went into the third stage of the now, which is, well, let's just fire the coach. Let the assistant coach take over the helm, which he did when Frank Vogel tested positive, and he couldn't do any much better. Matter of fact, he had a worse record than Frank Vogel. And now the fourth wave of management, ownership, Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, finally, after years being on the job, after the guy essentially coached them to an NBA title, even though a lot of people want to say it's the bubble and the bubble shouldn't count. But like I always say, all championships are created equal. All championships are the same. They just, people seem to forget about them the next year after, particularly if you're not a team that can do a back-to-back. That's what makes some championships more valuable than others. There have been numerous franchises that have won back-to-back, and we still talk about those championships. No one talks about a team who won one championship in 4 years. It just doesn't work that way. We all just allude to, well, maybe that was just their year. There was the cards, the NBA gods were looking down at these guys and said, let's throw them a bone. That's essentially what a lot of people estimate. There's a lot of NBA teams in our history who have won one championship. They're one and done. We don't hear nothing from them. They get ravaged between injuries. The talent pool gets smaller and smaller, i.e. the Toronto Raptors. They won a title, and no one talks about them. And that's pretty much holding to the feet of the fire of the Los Angeles Lakers. They won a title, and nobody don't seem to talk about it. So let's get into last night's game. Wasn't a huge surprise to me. The Los Angeles Lakers simply do not have a big man that can go up against Joel Embiid, at least make him work for his shot selection. I mean, Joel Embiid was having his way. And I know a lot of people are going to say, what about Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis is not chopped liver. You're talking about a guy who doesn't even want to play the 5, would settle for playing the 4, but in reality, Anthony Davis wants to be a wing player. He wants to, in a perfect world, in a perfect Anthony Davis scenario, he would love to play the 3 spot. Maybe they can find them a traditional power forward, a traditional center, and then he will love to play the 3 spot. Okay, with it's been well documented that Anthony Davis had a huge growth spurt between his high school and college days, and before he had that growth spurt, he played like a wing, like a small forward, because that's what his ambitions was, to be the best small forward going into the NBA. Well, he had a huge growth spurt and he grew several inches, and now he has the body of a big, but the mentality of a wing, someone who wants to play on the wing. But they're finally letting Frank Vogel finally coach this team, finally put the right pieces in place, put the right players in place in right positions. They also given him the green light to bench people. They have already done bench Carmelo Anthony throughout this season. They just now recently benched Russell Westbrook. So they're finally allowing Frank Vogel to coach. But last night's game had little to do with coaching, little to do with player selection, has more to do with they just simply don't have anyone that can stay in front of Joel Embiid. He was having his way inside, outside, every day, all day. It was like 7-Eleven, 24 hours a day. He was getting what he wanted. And I always told you guys that the Lakers need a big. They need a big. They also need players, or the players that they have on their roster, to play some defense. Magic Johnson took to social media saying that this Lakers team is a total embarrassment, and Jeannie Buss deserves more. Yes, everyone goes to their quick go-to essential is, well, LeBron James got his. It's not LeBron James' fault. In year 19, he's still scoring 30 points. In year 19, his shooting average is astounding. In year 19, he's still a freight train. People seem to forget today's NBA, the term a two-way player is non-existent. There's a few players in the NBA that we can coin a two-way player. What's a two-way player? A lot of you young folks are not aware of this. A player who can play astounding on offense and extraordinary on defense. It's only a few people out there, folks. Jimmy Butler, Ja for the Memphis Grizzlies. There's only a select few players out there that garners that title. But they're still getting their numbers and locking their player up on the other end in a league where they don't promote defense as well. They don't promote defense in a league that, the half-court game is non-existent, in a league where the big man is non-existent. Franchise used to draft the biggest big man coming out of college if they make themselves available for the NBA draft. Now that's non-existent. Now you want big men to float around the three-point line, the perimeter line. Three-point big men are performing like a small forward. All right. There are more Kevin Durant's, more Dirk Nowitzki's, more Chris Bosh, those type of molds of big men out there than there are Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, even though he can smoke you around the perimeter, but he never thought that he could move beyond the three-point line. I'm pretty sure he can probably make a shot or two. Chris Webber, there's more players that big men that would love to float around the basket. I mean, float around the perimeter, float around the three-point instead of close to the basket. That's what the Los Angeles Lakers are struggling with. That's why there are teams out there that will take the ball to the basket, knowing that there's no one down there to contend with them. another problem with the Los Angeles Lakers, they don't have great chemistry, particularly defending the ball. If you have watched the Los Angeles Lakers, there's no communication. There's no sense of urgency. Everybody's just in a daze. They pick their spots. The Lakers players are allowing the other team to make it to the basket, non-contested. They don't switch off as well. They don't communicate that the switch is coming. They don't even communicate when the pick is coming. None of that stuff. And I feel like that's a large portion of today's game. A lot of these players don't practice a lot. When you're practicing with your teammates, you get to know all your teammates' strengths and weaknesses, and you are in a cohesive group. You know your strengths and weaknesses. You know your other teammates' strengths and weaknesses. You know when your teammate is in trouble. Your teammate knows when you're in trouble. And the only way you're going to get better on defense if you practice that routinely in practice. That's the only way that gets addressed. That's the only way that gets done. And I feel like it builds character. It also builds teammates communicating with one another. But when you have a bunch of Hall of Famers, such as a Carmelo Anthony, that's not going to practice every day, a LeBron James, who has ridiculed people talking about scrimmages and practices, he's not going to practice that, every day, all day. He's just assuming that, hey, I'm ready. How come they're not ready? All right. Russell Westbrook has never thought about defending the basketball. And then you have players that are incapable of even defending the ball. Average to below average shooters, but are not household name as defenders. And when you get to select the team, when you get to pick who you want, and you don't make the right basketball decision, you're just making the right LeBron James decision, the right Rob Pelinka decision, but what's box office versus what makes basketball sense. That's why the Lakers are stuck with the team that they have. Now comes a report that the Los Angeles Lakers could have traded Russell Westbrook back to the Houston Rockets, the same organization that had Russell Westbrook a couple of seasons ago. And the reason why the trade was nicked or botched, or whatever word you want to use, is the fact that it was too rich for the Los Angeles Lakers blood, because the Houston Rockets said, we'll take Russell Westbrook. What he's owed, like another $20 million this year and another $42 million the year after that, even though we can get John Wall off our books this season and we'll have tons of cap space. Yeah, we'll take him, but we want to take your one and only first round pick, which is probably going to be a high pick. A lot of people are not talking about that. Their one and only pick in, I believe it's 2025. If they would have made that deal, they would not have no picks from now to eternity. They have mortgaged all of their recent first round draft picks to get Anthony Davis. They even gave up picks for players that's not even on the team anymore. Think about that, folks. So they're already paying the price. When you mortgage your future to get short-term instant gratification, this is what you're left with. When LeBron, I'm pretty sure in 2025, 2026, and 2027, LeBron James is probably not going to be in the NBA. But the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be stuck. They're going to be in, the short-term salary cap hell. The constant term, just like the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be pretty much in the same coinkydink predicament like the Cleveland Cavaliers, like the Miami Heat. The difference between those organizations versus the Los Angeles Lakers, they have gotten up and under, particularly the Cleveland Cavaliers, all those bad contracts LeBron James wanted the Cleveland Cavaliers organization to sign. The Christian Thompsons, the J.R. Smiths, they are out up under those bad contracts, just to make LeBron James happy. And they're now and they're getting their draft picks back, which is good as well. They're even adding more draft picks, which makes it even better for the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Miami Heat, from the end of the Big Three no longer being on South Beach, LeBron, Dwayne, and Chris Bosh played a couple of seasons with the Miami Heat. They had to reconfigure, readjust, and slowly but surely they got their draft picks back. And now look at the Miami Heat. Just a couple of seasons ago, they were in the NBA Finals in the bubble with the Los Angeles Lakers. Look at the Miami Heat now. They are projected to go to the playoffs and run roughshod, and maybe they can go to the finals. It's not a foregone conclusion they're not going to go to the finals. Look at Cleveland Cavaliers. After their struggles in many years, look at their position. If they keep playing like they're playing, they can go to the playoffs. Two teams that LeBron James used to play for are going to the playoffs. Look at the Los Angeles Lakers. Do anyone want to take a bet on the Los Angeles Lakers going to make it to the playoffs now? A lot of people are going to say, well, the West is bad. Look at the rest of the teams. The rest of the teams, they're not up to snuff. Nobody's not running away in the NBA West. It's not about, folks, it's not about who's running away. It's about who logically the Lakers can beat in the standings. They have a hard time beating the Memphis Grizzlies. Y'all gonna put in, anybody gonna place a bet on them beating the Phoenix Suns? They couldn't beat the Phoenix Suns last year. The Golden State Warriors, you wanna put a bet on that? If the Golden State Warriors play their cards right, rest Steph Curry for the second half of the season, maybe play a few more games with Klay Thompson. I know he's got knee soreness, but let him get his legs under him and then also rest him, and let Jordan Poole and those cats, those young cats, play the second half of the season. Maybe let Draymond Green play less games and have all those guys fresh and ready for the playoffs. The Los Angeles Lakers have a hard time beating the Sacramento Kings. Look at the Clippers. The Clippers are keeping their heads sort of above water, sort of. And Kawhi Leonard's going to be returning sometime soon. Maybe Paul George in the second half of the season, maybe close to the end, but I highly doubt it. But you never know. Maybe they can do a trade here, a trade there. Maybe they can get John Wall. Maybe. It's a bunch of maybes. But I believe that the Lakers are having a hard time beating the LA Clippers. I'm not even talking about the Utah Jazz. I'm not talking about the Denver Nuggets. I'm not talking about the Dallas Mavericks. Those teams can give, the struggle is real for those teams as well, even though the record may not indicate it, folks. The Los Angeles Lakers, as it look right now, they're not a shoe-in for the playoffs. They're a small shoe-in for the play-in tournament. But it seems like to me it's going to be a rinse and repeat type of season where they'll get into the play-in, They'll win the play-in game. They play one of the top 3 teams, which will be number 1, and then they're one and done in the playoffs. And sayonara, we'll see you guys next year. That's what it looks like at the best case scenario for the Los Angeles Lakers. Worst case scenario, don't even sniff the playoffs. What a huge letdown if that happens. LeBron James can reflect on all the stats that he done accumulated, all the records he done shattered this year, only to reward all that individual stats and individual awards and individual achievements with not even making it in the playoffs. How much value of those records will truly be 5, 10, 15 years down the road? There have already been players that have already broken some of LeBron James' records. How 5, 10, 15 years down the road, barbershop talk, podcasting, content creators are going to put a lot of weight behind all the individual achievements LeBron James is going to accumulate this up and coming season if they don't make it to the playoffs. People will talk about it. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it confused. We'll talk about it. But then we'll follow it up with, yeah, but they didn't make it to the playoffs. They didn't win the championship. But LeBron won some personal accolations during that stretch, during that run. The same LeBron James that's not wasting a lick of energy on the defensive side. The same LeBron James has been so bad defensively, they're hiding him on the 5 spot. Because there's hardly no bigs in the NBA. With the exception of the Joker, Joel Embiid. Notice how when LeBron James has to match up those players, that's when they'll bring in DJ and Dwight Howard, and then he'll go to the 4, and then DJ and Dwight Howard will have to contend with those guys. Or some mysterious injury where I can't play against the 76ers, so I can't match up against with Joel Embiid. Hey, you guys are on your own. Is Dwight Howard available? What about DJ? DJ, is he available? Hey, isn't Anthony Davis scheduled to come? Yeah, let Anthony Davis take care of him. I'm going to take this night off. I'm going to recuperate from a bunch of nagging injuries. Yeah, that'll work. Notice how when there's an actual traditional big or a big with talent, LeBron James wants to pistol himself in at the 4 spot or the 3 spot. But when it's a smaller team and they don't have a true traditional big man, yeah, stick me to the 5. The best, I don't know if you guys play basketball, but have anyone played basketball with a guy who was extraordinarily talented, but did not want to play defense? You ever played a pickup game like that? This guy can shoot perimeter, shoot threes, take it to the hole and dunk, crazy flashy passes, this, that, and the third. Occasionally will play some defense, but the majority of the time, he's always at the 5 spot, getting the rebound, throwing the rebound, some midway court, and he just stands there on the other end, barking out commands and things of that nature. The moment you break the other team down and we get the ball and we take the ball up the court, he's already on the other side of the court waiting for somebody to lob it to him or throw it to him so he can get an uncontested layup or dunk, slap the backboard. Yeah, LeBron James has reduced himself to that guy. He's that guy. Extraordinary talented, don't want to play a lick of defense, would rather just sit on the other side of the court and allow his 4 teammates, his 4 brothers, his band of brothers to try to make some type of defensive effort on the other side. Or if he do run with the team, he's just a statue. He just standing there. Teams have figured it out, and they're running plays around LeBron, knowing that LeBron is not going to do anything. Now, he'll contend a layup. He'll get up enough energy and fortitude to come from behind and block the shot. Yeah, he'll do that. But one-on-one, nah, he's not going to do that. He'll act like he'll do it, but if the defender goes by him, the defender goes by him. If a defender goes by his teammate, if they set up picks, LeBron ain't addressing that stuff. He's not interested in that stuff because he's already got an excuse of, hey, I got to save my energy for the second half. So back to this John Wall trade, and I don't like calling out other content providers on YouTube. But first of all, I want to give a shout out to Ticket TV. There's a guy there named by the name of Elder. I'm not hating on anybody. I don't call out people. But I remember a couple of months ago, he was talking about the Lakers can truly trade Russell Westbrook because teams would want Russell Westbrook's contract because they're at the floor. And he's breaking it down financially. And financially, he is accurate. He is correct. But the only logical place Russell Westbrook can go, unless there's an organization that's sleeping at the wheel, there's a GM that's sleeping at the wheel, and they're going to give a bunch of picks and talent for Russell Westbrook, which that's not going to happen. No one is going to help the Lakers dig themselves out of this hole that they created, that Rob Pelinka created, that LeBron James created, Jeannie Buss, who has say so but don't want to engage and bruise egos, she created. This guy's thinking that, Elder's thinking that there's somebody out there that's going to help the Lakers dig themselves out of this hole. Good luck with that. And the only logical place 2 months ago is the same logical place now where Russell Westbrook can go is the Houston Rockets. But why would the Houston Rockets engage in this unless they're getting something in return? They were willing to take back Russell Westbrook, but the caveat, the carrot at the end of the string was their one and only first round pick in the NBA draft that the Lakers currently have in 2025. And the Lakers said, thanks, but no thanks. We'll figure this thing out. Okay. We know we'll pass on that offer. We're not going to give you our one and only draft pick just for you to trade back Russell Westbrook so we can get John Wall, who only has 1 year remaining. And at the end of summer, look at that. Look at all that cap space we got where we can sign another all-star. See how that works? See, people don't tell you the tail end of that argument. People always just gravitate to the first part of that argument. The possibility of Russell Westbrook going back to Houston and they getting John Wall. And then it stops there. Then everyone talks about how John Wall, there's things that John Wall can do that Russell Westbrook can't do, even though John Wall is more injury prone. And he's more of a traditional point guard. But see, no one's seen. Everyone just stops at that argument and don't talk about or discuss after the regular season, after the playoffs, after losing in the playoffs, and after watching other teams advance into the NBA Finals, we crown a new NBA champion, or maybe the Milwaukee Bucks may go back to back. You never know. And then the offseason, the Lakers no longer have to pay John Wall because that was the end of John Wall's contract. Now they got tons of cap space, and now they can be the big buyers of free agency. People seem to forget about that argument. And that's why the Rockets said, look, just straight up, we're losing in that trade. If you don't give us your first round pick, which is going to be a high pick in 2025, make no mistakes about it, folks. LeBron James isn't playing that long. I'm not even sure if they're going to keep Anthony Davis that long. And even if they do keep Anthony Davis, that's clearly not enough because he's injury prone. Maybe they come to their senses and trade Anthony Davis. Like they should be coming to their senses now, but that's neither here nor there. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about discussing scenarios as far as trading Anthony Davis, trading away something that other teams will actually want, and in return give up something talented plus draft picks. But that's neither here nor there. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that because some capologist is going to be in the comment section talking about, well, that's blasphemy. Okay, they're not going to get an equal value for Anthony Davis. When you do trades, folks, you're not getting anything equal. If you're the team that's if you're the team that has the struggles, you're not going to get anything of value from the other team. It's not going to be a fair, equitable trade where both parties get what they want. No. The other team, the only reason why this trade even is established is because you're at their mercy, and you're trying to make your team better and make your superstar happy. You make your ticket base happy, make your fan base happy. No. When you do trades, there is a winner and then there's a loser. Quite seldom, not often, you can say a trade where both parties won. But it's very seldom, very small, very minute. But anyway, yeah, I'm watching Ticket TV, listening to Ticket TV. And Elder made a suggestion, which makes perfect logical sense. It makes sense as financially, but it does not make sense. It does not make basketball sense because in the offseason, the Lakers could have gotten Buddy Hield. Now, Buddy Hield is nowhere near the player Russell Westbrook is, but Buddy Hield can do a lot of things that Russell Westbrook can't do. Buddy Hield is younger than Russell Westbrook. So even if you make this trade, and let's just say hypothetically, the Buddy Hield trade does not work for the Los Angeles Lakers this year, you mean to tell me you can't trade Buddy Hield for draft picks the next following year? You can't get up and off and under that contract? Buddy Hield's not making a ton of money. He's not making Russell Westbrook's money. But if you look at that trade and you trade, but that makes a perfect basketball sense because Buddy Hield off the bench can help you extraordinary than what Russell Westbrook, a starter, can do for you. Buddy Hield's not a turnover machine. Yes, he's lacking in offense. He's pretty decent as a defender. He's above average as a team defender. So he will blend in and work great with the second team. Not to mention in those crucial situations when you want to put Buddy Hield in for maybe a defensive stop or two with the starters, or maybe create a fast break run. He's more athletic than Russell Westbrook. He's a lot more smarter than Russell Westbrook. That was essentially the better basketball decision than trading for Russell Westbrook, giving up on Kuz and Montrezl Harrell, which I kept telling you guys, Montrezl Harrell, the only reason why he came to the Lakers to try to stick it to the Clippers, because the Clippers were not going to give him all that money. And now the Washington Wizards are exploring the possibility of trading Montrezl Harrell someplace else. He had a 2-year option when he signed with the Lakers, a 2-year deal. But the second part of that deal was a player option. So essentially he only had a 1-year deal, but he bought into the player option because there were no takers for him after that 1 year with the Los Angeles Lakers. No one was interested in Montrezl Harrell. No one wasn't. He should have quit trying to make things personal, quit trying to stick it to the Clippers, and took that guaranteed money with the Charlotte Hornets. You know, there's a sucker born every minute, and Michael Jordan was the sucker that was going to give him close to max dollars or max dollars. And how would Montrezl Harrell help the Charlotte Hornets? And now you're talking about a possibility where he's going to get traded again from Washington. Kuz he may not be world beaters, but he's helping his team. You gave up on those two players, and I wasn't high on Montrezl Harrell in the first place, for a Russell Westbrook at that particular time was due $40 million this year, 41 or 42 the next following year. That's $80 million in 2 years, folks. Rounding off, carrying the 1, dividing the 2, multiplying the 3, $80 million for one player who's on his later. I mean, he's not going to get any better as he gets older. The one blessing about Russell Westbrook was he was an extraordinary athletic in his youth. But now Russell Westbrook, even though he's still young, in NBA years, he's old. He can't keep up with these young cats. And I always tell you guys, this is a young man's sport. This is different from baseball and football. You could be a veteran in football, a decent veteran in football, and have a career in football. Because there are positions in football where they can hide your limitation as you get older. The same holds true for baseball. Same thing holds true for baseball. But in basketball, it's 5 men on the court. There's nowhere to hide. Unless you're LeBron James, you want to play the 5 in an era where there's no such thing as a big man. And also in an era where you don't see too many you don't have to match up against a Joel Embiid every night, a Giannis or whatever. And if you do match up with them, you have this mysterious injury where you're not going to be able to play the game. Or if you run out of that excuse, we'll put DJ at the 5. We'll put Dwight Howard at the 5. Hey, Anthony Davis is playing? Throw in Anthony Davis at the 5. Even though he doesn't want to play the 5. So that's what's going on with the Lakers. It's not going to get better, folks. It's only going to get worse. And we're going to be looking at this 5-10 years from now, and we're all going to kick our feet back up. We're going to talk about this magical season. Everyone is saying, particularly on social media, this is a magical season. Still at year 19, LeBron James is still scoring 30 points and at year 19, he's doing things that other greats couldn't do because they couldn't even make it in year 19. Look at all the personal achievements and accolations and jubilations and awards he's accumulating. He's breaking records. He's going after the Kareem record. But when we look at this year, the Lakers are going to rinse. They're going to be a team that's going to rinse and repeat. They're going to do the same thing like they did last year. They're going to be out early in the first round of the playoffs. And it's going to be a huge letdown and a failure for Jeannie Buss as the owner, Rob Pelinka, and one LeBron James. And this stench is not going to get off of them anytime easy. And if you think you're going to spray the perfume of individual stats, achievements, and awards and NBA individual records that LeBron James is going to accumulate from now, you're sadly mistaken. People are still going to talk about them not making the playoffs. And people are still going to talk about even if they made it to the playoffs, they made it to the play-in. And if there was no such thing as the play-in, they wouldn't even make it to the playoffs in the beginning. So that's all I got for Laker news. And look, I'm not a Laker hater. I'm not a hater. I just see it. I just call it like I see it. I told you guys, and I've said this 2 years ago. I wasn't happy with their offseason moves last year, and I'm not happy with the offseason moves the Lakers made this year. I'm not happy with the players that they have on that team. I'm not happy with the Frank Vogel and the coaching staff not being able to coach the team. We're midway in the season, and now he gets the blessing from Jeannie Buss. Now he gets the backing of Rob Pelinka. Now he's getting the kiss on the ring from LeBron James. And now this man is finally, after them threatening to fire him, they're finally giving him the rings as far as coaching the team. There are some improvement, but not a lot of improvement. And at the end of the day, when the season is over with and the Lakers are done, people are going to blame the obvious choice, Russell Westbrook, and they're going to blame Frank Vogel. Seems like he forgot how to coach because, almost 2 years ago, he won a title. I mean, he coached that team to a title. 2 years ago, they was number one in defense, and now they're hovering around the 16th, 17th spot. Yeah, it's Frank Vogel's fault. He forgot how to coach. He's not as good as a coach like he was almost 2 years ago. People are going to use the excuse of Russell Westbrook. Even when people use that excuse, they're never going to mention the fact that LeBron James blessed that trade. They could have made a trade that made basketball sense, but to Rob Pelinka and those in the front office, Sacramento was wanting too much for that trade. Yeah, because Sacramento saw the forest in front of the trees. They saw, look, you're giving us two players that you don't want, Kuz and Montez, who those two players together is not going to make our team any better. So, heck yeah, we want you to give us a little bit more, sweeten this pot, similar to what the Houston Rockets said to the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, so you want us to get Russ back. In Russ we trust. We had this fool 2 years ago. We saw what this fool could do. He's not that great. He's overpaid, but you want us to just do just a swap like that where we're giving up John Wall, a 1-year contract, by the way, which will be a rental to you guys, so you can have the salary cap space in the offseason. And we're stuck with 1 more year of Russell Westbrook, which possibly he's going to be sitting at home collecting the check, which, by the way, $40 and $42 million in 2 years. 40 this year, 42 next year. But you're getting mad because we want your first round pick, your one and only first round pick, which all of a sudden the Lakers franchise has reached a conclusion. These draft picks are important, guys. These draft picks are important. 2 years ago you didn't care about draft picks. Last year you didn't care about draft picks. Now all of a sudden you're caring about draft picks. You know why? Because you see what's ultimately going to happen to this a luxurious, famous dynasty. They're going to at least be in salary cap hell for like 3 to 4 years, and they're not going to have any draft picks anytime soon. This team is going to be struggling for the next 6 to 7 years. Mark my words. Maybe a decade of them not going to the playoffs, not being a competitive team, not making a difference in the regular season. I think they got like LeBron for like a couple of more seasons, and he's going to end up retiring or try to get them to trade him back to Cleveland. Why would they want him in Cleveland when they're doing better? There used to be an old adage saying, I can do bad by myself than having you along my side. The Cleveland Cavaliers are doing better. So why would they want LeBron James unless he's going to be traded to Cleveland to retire a Cleveland Cavalier? I feel like that's the only way that trade makes sense, or they would want LeBron James back. And LeBron James is going to be stuck on a team that's not going anywhere. That's an Anthony Davis that he's always going to be injury prone. He's going to be injured every season. He was injured with the New Orleans Pelicans. What makes him going to Los Angeles going to be any different? He's not huge on taking care of himself. It's fine. He was never a big component of that when he was with the New Orleans Pelicans. He was just leaning on the fact that he's heavily talented and heavily athletic, but your talent fades a little bit. Your athleticism goes when you get older, and now you're stuck with him. You're stuck with him. You have no draft picks to get better. So now all you're going to be doing for the next couple of seasons in the future is just sign free agents who happen to be clutch agents. How that's working for the Cleveland Cavaliers, for the Los Angeles Lakers. You're signing clutch clients to fill that roster, to fill a space that if you would just sign the right player to make the right basketball decisions and the right moves could help this team. Now you're just signing clutch agents. So I'm probably not going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers from here moving on out. Because look, why kick a dead horse when it's down? It's a dead horse. Could they rebound this year? Yes, but they will have to sacrifice a lot to get to that point. They just got to sacrifice a lot to get to that point. They're going to have to say in their minds how really important being competitive this season is going to help our bottom line. How important is it? How desperate we are to change things instantly, like instant mashed potatoes. How desperate we have to be to do that. What are we willing to give up on now to be better years to come? I'm going to tell you something, guys, and a lot of people are not even focusing on this. Just remember where you heard it from, even if you make it this far to this live stream. Next year, the Los Angeles Lakers are going to be in rebuilding mode. Because just think about it. They don't have enough access. They don't have the pieces or draft picks or the capital to orchestrate trades to get Dame Dollar. to get, and I forgot the player's name that's in Philly that's not playing. You guys know who I'm talking about. He'll come to his name will pop up eventually. They're not going to be in they're not going to be in the sweepstakes to get either of those two players who are franchise difference makers. They're not willing to give up on Anthony Davis as of right now. I feel like that argument will change at the conclusion maybe of next year. That might be put on the table. And you got an aging superstar, LeBron James, who's only going to get older. And once he gets close to the individual stats and achievements and the records he wants, once he gets Kareem record, he's going to fall back some. He just in there to be in there. He's just going to play out his contract, and he's going to retire and ride. He's going to retire and ride in the sun. You don't have no fallback plan. You don't have a plan B. And I'm going to tell you guys, if Jeannie Buss is smart, I feel like the Lakers, this is what the Lakers are going to do. Next year, you're going to hear a whole lot of talk of we are rebuilding as we compete for a championship. That's the dialogue that's going to be sprinkled to the media, to the masses, to social media. And everybody's going to play along to this campaign. But deep inside, they're rebuilding. Whenever you hear a team say, we're going to reconfigure or rebuild the team so we can be more competitive to win multiple titles, what they're saying is, we are rebuilding. We're burning this to the ground and we're starting all over again. And if they do that, they're going to say to themselves, we gave up all that young talent, all those draft picks, mortgage away all those draft picks, all those decent average players. We gave up on players. We replaced them with players that were clutch client agents that fit the mold of LeBron James getting assists here, getting assists there, not caring about putting players on the roster that's going to help us win championships. We're going to be stuck with Russell Westbrook one more again, my friend. They're going to be stuck with Russell Westbrook until next year's trade deadline. A lot of people are not talking about that. People are not going to be in the offseason wanting to trade for Russell Westbrook. You have to have $42 million of capital to even to orchestrate a trade like that. So you're going to be giving up draft picks, players to give to the Lakers, and then they get better, and you're stuck with Russell Westbrook for a whole entire year, which you're probably going to tell him just stay at home, my friend. Just stay at home. Now, Russell Westbrook, everyone's talking about Russell Westbrook. He's down for a buyout. If Russell Westbrook was truly, in essence, down with a buyout, why he doesn't want to take a buyout now? Russell Westbrook has always been about his bread, his money. I just don't see it. Hold on one second. Russell Westbrook has always been about his bread. Run me my money. That's what Russell Westbrook said too. So I might do a video probably next week and go ahead and put that in the live stream. So when people bite it, they steal it. Next year, they ain't gonna say you heard it here first. No, you heard it from me. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to do that. So I'm up out of here. Please feel to subscribe, support the channel that way. If you truly support me, hit the like button, share this with your friends, family, and and your friends. Oh, I'm sorry. There's a membership button, a join membership button. You guys can hit that button if you like. And I will see you guys on the next live stream. Ah.